Hello students, let us see question number 11 of level 2. In the last lecture, we did 10 MCQs. You can download the questions from the link given in the description of the video. So first you download that questions. Question number 11, it is given that a large sheet carries uniform surface charge density sigma. So we have a large sheet which have a surface charge density sigma. So there are plus charges on it, the density is sigma. A rod of length 2L has a linear charge density lambda on one half and minus lambda on the other half. The rod is hinged at a midpoint O and makes an angle theta with the normal to the sheet. So this is the normal to the sheet. There is one rod given. The length of the rod is 2L and it is inclined at an angle theta. Half of the rod has a linear density of lambda, that is, half of the rod has plus charge, the density is lambda, and the other half has the negative charge, that is minus lambda. We have to find out the torque experienced by the rod. So it is like we have a source as a plane sheet and a rod is placed near it such that the half of the rod is positively charged and half of the rod is negatively charged. You have to find out the torque acting on it. So let us consider that the entire rod is divided into the small line elements. So suppose this is one element having the distance x from the center. So we are considering one small element at a distance x and the length of this element is dx. Consider another element dx on the other half at the same distance from the center, that is x. So this is the length, dx is the length. We have taken the length as dx. Let the charge on them is dq. Now the force acting on it, so this is positively charged, source is also positive. So the force acting is in the terms of the electric field. E is the electric field of the source. So that becomes E into dq, that is Q into E, that is repulsive, and the force acting on this rod is minus E dq. So these are the forces acting on it. Clearly, both the forces or the line of action of force, this is the line of action of force, are separated by a perpendicular distance. So the torque will act on it or the rod will behave like a couple. So we have to find out the torque acting on the rod. Now let us find out the small amount of torque due to these elements. So torque is defined, let T d tau be the torque acting on the rod or on the element. We have considered this small element. So torque is defined as magnitude of either force into perpendicular distance between two line of action of forces, or let us write two forces. So it is a perpendicular distance between the two line of action of force. So magnitude of either force, so that can be written as E into dq, that is the magnitude of either force. Now perpendicular distance between this, so if I drop a perpendicular here and join this is a right angle triangle. So let us name this triangle as A, B and C. Now if I draw this triangle here, that is A, B, C. This angle is theta, so this angle is also a theta. We have taken a two element. One is x distance, other is x distance. So total distance between the two element is 2x. Now I need to, the force acting on A is in this direction, force acting on C is in this direction. So what is the perpendicular distance between the two forces or two line of action of force? This is the line of action of. So clearly sin theta can be written as opposite upon hypotenuse. So AB is equal to AC, which is 2x. So 2x sin theta. So the perpendicular distance between the two line of action of force is 2x sin theta. So this is the torque acting on the line element. Now I have to find out the resultant torque. So it is just an integration. So this can be written as integration of d tau. Now if we see the options, it is in the terms of sigma and lambda. So clearly the electric field intensity due to the plane sheet is sigma upon 2 epsilon naught, and dq can be written as lambda into dl or dx in this term. The length is dx. So we substitute that value, integration, in the place of E, it is sigma upon 2 epsilon naught, that is the electric field intensity due to the plane sheet. dq can be written as lambda into dl, or in this case the length of the element is dx, so dx. Then the perpendicular distance, that is 2x sin of theta. So here 2 get cancelled, lambda is constant, we have to do integration with respect to x. So this is equal to sigma lambda epsilon naught sin theta integration x dx. So now we have two elements and the total distance is 2L. The total distance is 2L, but we have taken two elements at a time. So the length or the limit will be taken as L. So the limit is 0 to L. So this tau can be written as sigma lambda epsilon naught sin theta x dx, that is x square by 2, and limit becomes 0 to L. So tau can be written as sigma lambda L square sin theta upon 2 epsilon naught. So this much torque act on a rod. So it comes out to be sigma lambda L square sin theta 2 epsilon naught. So it is option number C. So this is the torque acting on the rod. So you have to remember this concept of dividing the rod into an element or into an area element or into a volume element as the situation may be. Now let us move to the 12th question. It is given that rho r is equal to QR upon pi r raised to 4 with the charge density distribution. So it is a volume charge density for a solid sphere of radius r and the total charge q. So this is the density given for a solid sphere. It is a non-conducting sphere. For a conducting sphere, we know it is similar to a spherical shell. The electric field intensity is 0 inside that. The radius, the total amount of charge is q, and the radius is capital R. For a point P inside the sphere at a distance r1 from the center of the sphere, the magnitude of electric field is. So again I have to find out the electric field at a point which is at a distance r1 from the center. Now clearly rho is a function of r, means as the distance changes, the density changes by this relation. So as the distance increase, the density also increase. So it is a non-uniform distribution. So let us assume that this entire solid sphere is again divided into a small element. Now I draw this diagram. Now this is point P. This is R1. So let us assume a Gaussian surface having the thickness dr. So we are assuming this as a Gaussian surface of some thickness. This is the thickness because it is a solid sphere. So the solid sphere will be made if we consider this. So this is the point. Let us say the thickness is dr and the distance of point P is taken as r from the center because it is a variable. Then if the limit is distance is r1, we will take a limit from 0 to r1. So we imagine a Gaussian surface of radius r and the thickness is dr. So I have to find out the electric field intensity at point P. Now dq can be written as, let dq be the amount of charge on it. So dq can be written as rho into dv. That is the amount of charge on this Gaussian surface where we have taken some thickness dr and the radius of this is r. So I have to find out the total charge enclosed because the distribution is non-uniform. The distribution is non-uniform because the rho is a function of small r. So first I will find out how much charge is enclosed inside this radius r. The total radius or the radius of the source is capital R. So integrating this, so first this is equal to volume charge density, that is given as QR upon pi R4. dV, that is the area of this, that can be written as, volume can be written as, area into thickness. So volume can be written as, for this surface, which is a Gaussian surface for us, it is area into its thickness. So this pi gets cancelled. This r becomes r cube. So we have 4q r cube r raised to 4 dr. This is small amount of charge on the surface of this on the Gaussian surface. Now I have to find out the total charge enclosed, that is how much charge is enclosed in the radius of R1. So Q inside or Q enclosed is equal to integration of dq, and the point distance is given as R1. So I take a limit 0 to R1. So this is equal to, I do the integration of this equation, clearly 4q r raised to 4 is constant, r cube d cube, so integration becomes r raised to 4 by 4, that 4 is cancelled, so I am left with r q r raised to 4, that is limit is r1 upon r raised to 4 only. This is my equation number 1. So r cube integration, that is r raised to 4 by 4, 4 get cancelled, and limit is 0 to r1. So this much charge is enclosed. Now the electric field intensity at point P at distance R1, directly formula for the electric field intensity. So we know that electric field intensity is K, source should be the charge enclosed, divided by the distance, that is R1 square. Now substitute this value here. So in the place of K, we have to see the option that is K only, so we keep K as it is. Otherwise we have to sometime write 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. So K upon R1 square, and Q enclosed is Q R1 raised to 4 upon R raised to 4. So electric field intensity is K Q R1 square upon R raised to 4. This square is cancelled with this. So the electric field intensity is K Q R1 square upon R raised to 4, capital R raised to 4. So it is again option C given. So again this is the case of dividing the entire source into small elements. Now question number 13. A non-uniform electric field is given by E is equal to 5xi volt per meter. So again we have a non-uniform electric field. Now if you remember the theory, for a dipole in a uniform electric field, the resultant force on it was 0 and the torque was given as Pe sin theta. That was our torque acting on a dipole, P cross E. But now the field is non-uniform. In non-uniform electric field, the resultant force is non-zero. So the dipole will perform translational as well as the rotational motion. And if you remember our theory, it will rotate till it gets aligned in the direction of the field, and it perform a translational motion till the electric field exists. Now here again the non-uniform electric field is given, which is along x-axis. So field is increasing along x-axis. The value given is E is equal to 5xi volt per meter. It means the electric field is increasing along the x-axis. And electric dipole have a dipole moment. So P is equal to 20 into 10 raised to minus 20 coulomb meter is given, is placed at an angle of 60 degree with the field. The net force on the dipole is, now we know that a force will act on it because the field is non-uniform. Now before we move on to this numerical, let us derive the general formula for a dipole placed in non-uniform electric field. So in the coming days you can directly apply this formula. So first we will try to do the theory for an electric dipole placed in non-uniform electric field. So let us assume that the electric field is increasing along the x-axis. So this is the electric field intensity, which is non-uniform, and the density or the field lines are getting closer, means the intensity is more at this point. So as we move along the x-axis, the electric field intensity is increasing. Now we have to place a dipole making an angle theta. So let us draw a dipole. This is a plus Q charge and this is minus Q charge. Let the dipole is placed making an angle theta. So this is a dipole placed making an angle theta. Clearly the force on this charge will be more because the field is increasing as we move along the x-axis. If I take a field at this point to be E, then the force acting on it, as we have done this, it will be minus QE. But here the force will be Q E plus question mark. E plus question mark, that is field will be more. So here the field is assumed at negative charge, or let us say a point A, this is point B. So at point A the field is assumed to be E. At point B the field should be greater than this. How much? That we have to find out with the help of a theory. So clearly both the forces are separated by a perpendicular distance. So this is the line of action of force of the first force, that is the force acting on plus Q charge, and this is the line of action of force for this charge. So clearly there is a perpendicular distance between these two dipoles, between these two charges. So we will try to find out the distance when we have a field. Let this distance be denoted by 2a, that we know. Now let us drop a perpendicular to find out the distance. So this is called as a perpendicular distance between the two line of action of force. Let this point be C. So this diagram, if I am taking this angle as theta to derive the relation, this angle is taken as theta, this angle A entire. Because the field is non-uniform, so the field is not drawn exactly non-uniform. So there is a error of this angle, small angle, but we assume that BC is a perpendicular distance between the two line of action of force. So when two charges or a dipole is placed in the non-uniform electric field, you have to find out the perpendicular distance between the two line of action of force. And in the case of uniform electric field, we know that both the forces were equal in magnitude and opposite in direction. So the resultant comes out to be 0. Here the forces are not equal. So if I take the force acting on minus charge, then it can be QE. And the force acting on plus charge, it should be QE plus question mark. So I have to find out this question mark. Because the force is increasing along the x-axis, so we drop a perpendicular to find out the perpendicular distance between the two charges. Now suppose along x-axis the distance moved is dx. Suppose I have to move along the x-axis. So from point A, I am moving along the x-axis. This point A, C is on x-axis. So if I move a small distance, say dx, the field will increase by dE amount. So along x-axis, if the distance moved is dx, then increment in field is dE. So it is given that the field increases along the x-axis. So this non-uniform field was drawn just for the sake of understanding. Otherwise, we need the two forces and the perpendicular distance between these two charges of a dipole. Now, what will be the perpendicular distance between the two line of action of force? So, if I move a distance x, small dx, the field increases, say dE vector. Then I increase dx, 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 dx. So, this AC is called as the distance, that is, clearly if I take this angle as theta, this is my 2a. So this comes out to be 2a cos theta. So it is referred as the distance, that is the distance along in the direction of the field. So if I come to this point, or this point, or this point, or this point, the distance from the source is same. So like it is, this line is an equipotential surface, or the potential at all this point will be same whether I take a point B or a point C, because the distance will be same from the x-axis. So what is the distance between the two charges in the direction of the field, that we have done in the concept of a equipotential surface? So 2a cos theta is the distance between the two charges in the direction of the field. So if I move along the x-axis, the field is increasing. So I assume that I move dx distance. So field increase is dE. But actually I move 2a cos theta. So I have resolved this component. So if I draw this triangle ABC again, this is the plus q charge, this is minus q charge AC, and this is your theta. So we know that this is 2a vector, this is your 2a vector, and if this is an angle, then the distance between the two charges in the direction of the field is 2a cos theta. So the distance between the two charges in the direction of the field. Now field at A is assumed to be E. So field at point B should be E plus something. Now whether it is point B or point C, the distance from the source will be same. Source means where the field has been started. So I find out the field at C or B, it comes out to be same, that is E plus something. So along x-axis, if distance moved is dx, the increment in the field is dE. The distance between two charges in direction of field is 2a cos theta. So what will be the increment in the field? So for dx distance, the increment is dE. For 2a cos theta distance along the x-axis, what is the increment? That is a ratio and proportion only. So that question mark value comes out to be the distance between two charges in the direction of field is 2a. So increment in field is 2a cos theta dE by dx. So this is the value of our question mark. So this question mark is replaced by 2a cos theta dE upon dx. So this is how we find out the change in the electric field intensity. So if I move along the x-axis, that means in the direction of field I have moved from point A to C. So the field value at this is more than this, that is E plus something. That something is been found by this formula. So now what is the field at point B? So it is E vector plus question mark, that is found to be 2a cos theta. Now I find out the resultant force. So now this question mark will be replaced by this quantity. Again, F minus is minus QE vector and F plus is plus Q E vector plus 2A cos theta dE vector upon dx. So you have to remember this. I am writing this in the vector form. We have to consider the direction also. Now resultant force F net. So F net can be written as F plus is more minus F minus. So if I write a vector form, it is summation, but it will be replaced by minus sign. So this force is along the x-axis. The force acting on negative charge is along negative x-axis. So this can be written as Q E plus something. So you have to now remember this formula also, that change in the direction of the field, is 2A cos theta dE by dx. If the field is along y-axis, you write here dy. So E vector plus 2A cos theta dE vector plus upon dx minus sign for the opposite direction. So if I open this bracket, the resultant force acting is equal to QE get cancelled. So 2A cos theta dE by dx, and this one Q is left here. This is the resultant force formula. So now you have to remember that whenever a dipole is placed in a non-uniform electric field, the resultant force acting on it in the direction of the field, here the direction of the field is taken along the x-axis, is Q into 2A cos theta dE by dx, and therefore F net can be written as, now clearly the resultant force will be along the x-axis, so I will write this as 2A into Q, that is a dipole moment. So this becomes in a vector form P cap cos theta dE by dx. So this P vector will be from negative charge to the positive charge, that is negative to positive charge. Now this dipole will perform rotational motion as well as the translational motion, and this formula can be written as P cap cos theta dE by dx. This is the general formula for the resultant force acting on a dipole. So if I want to take a direction, the resultant force acting on it will be in the direction of a dipole moment. That is, it will perform a rotational motion and it will keep on moving in the direction of the field, and once it gets aligned in the direction of the field, it will move along the x-axis. So the resultant comes out to be along the x-axis. The resultant comes out to be along the x-axis. So here the field is a function of x, means as the distance along the x-axis increases, the field also increases. So now this is the resultant force formula you have to remember. Now I have to find out the magnitude only. So F net can be written as P cos theta dE by dx. So it is in the terms of magnitude. Direction, it is always found to be in the direction of the field along the x-axis in this case. So P cos theta, P is given, so F net is equal to 20 into 10 raised to minus 20, that is the resultant. Now this is a dipole moment, cos 60, and dE by dx, so derivative of E with respect to x, so it comes out to be 5, and if I want to write the direction, then I put a L, so 5i. So this is equal to 20 into 10 raised to minus 20 into cos 60 half into 5. So this 2 is cancelled with this 10, so it comes out to be 50 into 10 raised to 20 minus 10 raised to minus 20 I Newton. So the resultant force is along the x-axis. So this comes out to be a option number D, which is given as 5 into 10 raised to minus 19 I, which is similar to this same answer. So this is the theory related to a dipole placed in non-uniform electric field. So you have to remember this theory, otherwise simply you remember what we have learned earlier, that a dipole in non-uniform electric field will perform translational motion as well as rotational motion. Now if it is performing a translational motion in the direction of the field, what is the additional force acting on it? So resultant force will be found by subtracting F minus from F plus. Otherwise the resultant force is, the additional force is QE plus 2AQ cos theta dE by dx. So if I ask you what is the additional force acting on it, that is a plus charge, so it should be 2AQ cos theta dE by dx. So this is the magnitude, this is the additional force. Then we replace this by P, so the general formula comes out to be P cos theta dE by dx. So you simply remember this, that the additional force is P cos theta dE by dx. As we move on along the x-axis, this force will keep on increasing. The linear charge density on the rim of semicircular is given by alpha theta, where alpha is constant. So in question 14, the rim is given. Let the radius of the rim is r. The linear charge density is lambda, which is given as lambda is equal to alpha theta. Here alpha is constant. Here alpha is constant. And theta is the angle measured from x-axis as shown in the figure. The radius of the semicircle is r. Find out the total charge. So I have to find out the total charge on this rim of a semicircle. So the first step is, I will divide this entire semicircle or arc into small element. So this is one element dl, another element dl, another element dl. So this is the dl element. Now I take any one element, joining its tail and head with the center. So I join its tail and head. So this angular width, this is called angular width d theta, and the linear length is dl vector and the charge is dq. So that is what we used to do in linear charge density theory. Here lambda is a function of theta, so as the element changes, the theta will also keep on changing. So I consider one element of angular width d theta. This is the way. To understand this, let us draw this element. So I join this, it becomes d theta, dl vector, and this is the radius r. So let this is a point P and Q. So we enlarge this line element here. Now we know that for non-uniform distribution dq is lambda into dl. So dq is equal to alpha theta dl. Now I have to find out the total charge. So I integrate this equation. But here theta is variable. dl. So we have to connect or find out the relation between theta and dl. So from this figure, d theta is equal to, we know it is the length of the arc. It is the length of a arc PQ upon radius. That is our formula. This is equal to dl upon r. So dl is equal to r d theta, and therefore dq is equal to alpha theta r d theta. So this is the small amount of charge on the rim given. Now I have to find out the total charge. So I integrate this equation easily. Now I have to integrate with respect to theta. So total charge is equal to integration. Now alpha and radius are constant given. So alpha is a constant, radius also remain fixed. So I have to integrate it with respect to theta. I have to find out the limit. If I take this one element infinitely small, the angle comes out to be 0. And if I take a last element at point B, this angle comes out to be 180 degree or pi radian. So taking the limit from 0 to pi. Now simple, I have to integrate. So alpha r theta d theta integration, that is theta square by 2. So this is theta square by 2 and limit becomes 0 to pi. And therefore Q is equal to alpha r pi square minus 0. So that is pi square upon 2. So this is the total amount of charge on the given semicircular ring, that is A alpha pi square by 2. So this is our option number B. Have a nice day, and you download the question from the description of the video. We wind up our lecture today at this point.